Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Daily content for you here at Barnaby Slater _. Make sure you're subscribing, but we've got to get straight into it. Jose Mourinho has been sacked by Roma, the former Spurs boss. Let's laugh him out of yet another town. Every single time with Jose, third season, having given it the absolute big un for 2 seasons, and he's gone. That's right. The man who, when he was Tottenham manager, was sacked on the week of getting us to the cup final. And people, some Spurs fans, actually hate Daniel Levy for that. And I'm going to give a counterpoint to that. If Jose Mourinho had somehow found a way to beat Manchester City in that cup final, and that way would have been to sit 11 men behind the ball, practically on our own goal line, and try and nick a result, there's a chance that Jose Mourinho might still be Tottenham Hotspur manager now. I know that sounds ridiculous so many years down the line, but that League Cup trophy would have given him the collateral to stay in the job for a lot longer and keep us in that terrible style of football and buying stodgy old players. I don't want to go in on Pierre Højbjerg too much, but he's a Jose Mourinho signing, and he is the antithesis of what a Big Ange Postecoglou player is, and he would be just one example of many of the kind of player that Jose Mourinho would have brought in over the following years. So it was the right decision, in my opinion, by Daniel Levy. Let me know in the comments if you think it was the right decision. I know there are a lot of Jose Mourinho fans out there, and that's fair enough. He's had an unbelievable career, but nothing in the last 5 or 6 years. He is a dinosaur management-wise, and he cannot handle how to treat young players. This newer generation of footballers cannot stand Jose Mourinho's stick-based, abuse-based style of management. He proved it at Tottenham, he's proved it at Roma, he proved it at Manchester United. He is a dinosaur. He slags off Tottenham Hotspur whenever he gets the opportunity since having left, and therefore I am laughing at him getting sacked again. And I'll give you another reason why I'm laughing. Because I know that there are some Chelsea fans, and particularly maybe some influencer Chelsea fans with big followings, who right now hate Mauricio Pochettino so much that they would take Jose Mourinho back. And look, it didn't sit great with me when Mauricio Pochettino went to Chelsea, sure. But Chelsea at the moment are an absolute poison chalice. It's an impossible job. They brought in eons of young, talented, raw players, but all at the same time. The only experience they've got is Thiago Silva and Raheem Sterling, and the rest of them are all expected to be thrown into the team at once and to swim, and it's never going to happen. Of course they're going to sink. Nobody can do a better job than Pochettino, in my opinion. So if Chelsea were to sack Pochettino, as a lot of these big influencers are calling for, and get in Jose Mourinho, oh my God, it would be music to my ears. It would be so hilarious at how quickly he would lose the dressing room and how bad he would be at Chelsea. Should mention, of course, Jose Mourinho. Yes, he's won every single European trophy. How do we know that? Well, stats, but also because he's had it tattooed on his arm. So he will say, oh, well, I went to Roma and I won the Europa Conference League. But let's look at that competition. The winners, Roma, West Ham. West Ham fans singing about how they're European champions. Come on, it's not real. Spurs were thrown out of that trophy because they couldn't get a team together because of COVID. Come on, it's not real life. It's not even as big as the Cup Winners' Cup was back in the day. They should shove the Conference League, bring back the Cup Winners' Cup, make the FA Cup in this country and cups all around Europe mean something again. Give teams a chance to play in another trophy because of how well they do in the cup. But yeah, I wanted to get on my high horse a little bit about Mourinho getting sacked. I think it's hilarious. From everything I've read, actually the Roma fans haven't really been calling for his head that much. It's more that the board had to make a decision because they lost to Lazio again. He's only won, I think, 1 out of 5 or 6 games in the derby against Lazio, and it was a big old palaver in the Italian Cup in that loss last week. And I think they've hardly won any games in the last 5 and are kind of out of the Champions League race. But like I said, please bring him back to Chelsea, Todd Bowley. You do it. Let Mauricio Pochettino free and go and do a great job at a club that aren't Chelsea. That's what I'm saying. Before I move on to my next topic of today's news stories, please, thank you. Please and thank you for so much for your support so far, following the podcast, both on YouTube at Barnaby Slater _ and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast platforms. Please, if you're listening on the podcast platforms, do come to YouTube and subscribe to at Barnaby Slater _ drop this a like and vice versa. If you could go to the podcast platforms and drop me a follow or subscribe there, I'd really appreciate it. And of course, there are Spurred on Pro membership offers, options and Patreon options. All of that information is in the description box. For just £1 a month, you can get daily content from me. Thank you so much for your support. Let's go on to the next bit of big news in football at the moment. The financial fair play announcement yesterday that Everton and Nottingham Forest, will be charged with financial fair play mismanagement. I want to start, actually, despite those announcements, with the way that Newcastle fans have reacted since last week they had to come out, or last couple of weeks they had to come out and say that they're not able to spend the money they have because of financial fair play rules. What are they complaining about? Literally, what are they complaining about? The fact that suddenly they are the richest club in the world and they can't do anything about it because the rules were changed? You can't complain about that. The Saudis knew about the rules when they bought the club. These rules are brought in to stop another Chelsea happening, to stop another Manchester City happening. And sure, it does seem a bit unfair that you can't backdate it, so that you can't stop what Chelsea did or what Manchester City did and the size of their clubs now. But what you can say is they have both been found in breach of many, many rules from 10 years ago and longer, and their time will come. I've spoken to Manchester City and Chelsea fans, really staunch fans, in the last week, and all of them have said they expect their clubs to be relegated sometime towards the back end of next season. So hopefully these rules will bite. But in terms of Everton and Nottingham Forest, obviously the clubs have come out fighting. I get that. You're going to want to defend your position. But the realities are they have broken the rules. They knew what the rules were. They've tried to bend them. Everton have tried to bend the rules on both of these charges that have come up in the last month or two. They've tried to bend the rules by up to £250 million of debt. Like, it's not as simple as they make it sound that they're only £20 million in debt. They've actually got around about £230 million of extra debt by putting it up against COVID or putting it up against the stadium and really trying to bend those rules. The rules are there for a reason, and the reality is they have been mismanaged by their board, by their owners. Still the current owner, Moshiri, but trying to sell it, obviously, to what seems like a very dodgy American group. The reason I talk about all this is because I want to ask you guys, especially you guys who are Spurs fans, let me know in the comments how you feel about this week when, obviously, down the years, Daniel Levy has got a lot of abuse for the way that he has managed Tottenham Hotspur in a prudent, sustainable manner. You look at this club, Everton. Everton and Tottenham have been swimming in similar waters most of my life. When I was young, in the 80s and 90s, Everton were a bigger club than Tottenham. Everton won the FA Cup last in 1994. We haven't won it since 1991. In the mid-80s, they were winning league titles. In fact, they're incredibly unlucky. They weren't able to go to Europe to try and win the European Cup because of what happened at Heysel with Liverpool. Everton, as I was growing up, bigger, more successful, more traditional club than Spurs. Levy and Enoch took over, and it's swapped over. Spurs have grown, and Everton have stagnated. And now they're being done with financial fair play because a new owner came in who promised riches, in fact, everything that a lot of Tottenham fans wish that Spurs had in a new owner, in a similar way to Todd Bowley at Chelsea. Threw money at it, didn't worry about the repercussions, and now are in big, big trouble. I've said it before, I'm not like Enoch in, Daniel Levy in. My overall feeling is be careful what you wish for, and these examples are why. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, but I think Everton fans, must be a terrible time for you, and I really feel for you. But the rules are there. You have to be careful with it. Forest, they came up. They had a lot of players on loan in the Championship when they got promoted. So sure, they had to buy players or loan players. But you've got to do it by the rules because everybody else has to play it by the rules. It's as simple as that. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about these financial fair play situations for these clubs. For me, it gives me kind of a bit of a feeling of, well, I'm glad that we're run sustainably, and actually, finally now Tottenham are starting to reap the benefits of all of this infrastructure investment that we've put in, particularly the stadium and the amount of money we're able to make through the gate on the stadium, through merch, through the bars, and through our stadium being used for NFL and concerts and F1 go-karting and everything that a lot of the Spurs fan base abused Daniel Levy for. But finally, we are the only clubs currently in the Premier League spending in this window. I don't think it's as simple as that's the Harry Kane money. I think it's because finally we're starting to reap some of the money that's coming through. Anyway, let me know what you think. Finally, in this news section, just a couple of other things. Lloyd Kelly, who of course Spurs have been interested in, the centre-back from Bournemouth, contract running out in July. He's interesting Milan and Juventus. That's a big Daily Express article today. For me, I think it's unlikely Spurs now go for Lloyd Kelly. I think Ben Davies has proved he is good enough at centre-back to be our fourth choice now that we have Radu Dragushin fighting with Christian Romero and Mickey van der Ven for those centre-back berths. So I think it's unlikely Spurs will go to for Lloyd Kelly, but you never say never, because maybe in the summer, if he's still at Bournemouth and you can get him on a free, maybe we'll go in for him as the fourth choice. And Ben Davies, who's had a terrific career at Tottenham, maybe he'll be moved into the reserve left-back spot or moved out of the club. I wouldn't like to see that, but you never know. Finally, a rumour of us being interested in Norwich's 20-year-old winger/midfielder Jonathan Rowe. Very exciting player, full of acceleration, a really good finisher, decent in the air for a small guy as well. He can play kind of forward on the left or forward on the right as well as in midfield, and he really drives at defences. We've definitely been looking for a tricky winger. Obviously, we've got Timo Werner in the short term, but Jonathan Rowe looks like a decent option. But I think it's a bit early for him. He scored 11 goals, I think, a couple of assists for Norwich this season. But I think let him play some more in the Championship. Look at him again in the summer. Maybe let him go to another Premier League club for a year or two, show his Premier League credentials, and then get him down the line. You never know. Anyway, that is the news today on Tuesday. And like I said, just happy days with Jose Mourinho being sacked. Once again, thank you for your support. Please do follow and subscribe on the podcast platform, Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if you're there, come over to YouTube at Barnaby Slater _. And for any of you who want to join as a member of Spurred on Pro, all the details is in the description. Patreon or YouTube membership, £1 a month. And I will be doing members only live Q&As and live shows for you guys, as well as guaranteed comments for any of you members who comment in the comments box, and some other perks as well. All the information in those description boxes. Thank you so much for your support, guys. See you next time.